Hi, I'm Maurice Waters, and welcome to BlackSci-Fi TV, where we do our best to inspire your imagination. Today we're coming to you from Harlem, New York at the Schomburg Center. They have a new exhibit here that's called Unveiling Visions, the Alchemy of the Black Imagination. And today we're going to talk to John Jennings, the curator of this exhibit. Unveiling Visions, the Alchemy of Black Imagination. Where'd you get that title from?
Well, here's the thing. One of the main impetuses for the title was based off of Du Bois's construction, The Veil from the Souls of Black Folk, which he looks at as a way to protect us or to reshape how blackness is kind of seen. And so when Ronaldo Anderson and I were thinking about the show, we were thinking, like, what if it becomes like a type of technology that you can actually see through, and maybe that's where all these kind of like black imaginative spaces come from. And of course, alchemy is a relationship to one of the first sciences. So it's kind of like this merging between like science and magic to a certain degree. Because when people think about Afrofuturism writ large, we're looking at black speculative spaces like horror, the supernatural, magical realism. A lot of times all that gets couched on Afrofuturism. One of the things we wanted to do was talk about how this isn't a new thing, actually. So we're like unveiling the fact that this has been something, a mode of cultural production that we've done for a very long time.
So when you use the term black imagination, what's different than just saying imagination? I mean, aren't these all artists? Aren't they all being creative? And aren't we all using our imagination?
Right.
Why does it have to be black imagination?
Well, here's the thing. I think that a lot of times in our particular society, because we have been living in kind of a colonized space, the black subject isn't privileged as much as we should be. So it's almost like blackness becomes also a political stance, and also a particular mode that relates directly to the African diaspora, as far as like our culture is privileged, our subjectivity is privileged. And being that we're in the Schomburg Center, we're talking about a reaffirmation of the black subject, and a reaffirmation of black history.
All right, so how you doing, everybody? I'm N. Stephen Harris. I'm an illustrator, freelance illustrator. I do comics and storyboards, specializing in both those. And I've been doing comics for about 24 years now. I got involved in this exhibit through John. John called me. He said, would I like to be in the show with Schomburg involving black imaginations? And I said, sure, of course. And Afrofuturism, of course. I mean, that runs up right up my alley with some of the books I do. Like, wow. I would say black imagination is something that is out of our experience, that that's either we've experienced or experience we've read about in history, whether it's from here in America or from the diaspora. It could be the black imagination from Brazil. It could be the black imagination from Ghana or Kemet or Nigeria, or or the specific people in like the Yoruba or Voodoo. It could be anything in the black experience, because we're so diverse and so rich in culture and history. And any experiences that's come up from a black person that has a shared experience, and then maybe a not so shared experience, but something that comes from your experience and your history, is the black imagination. It's something you can not only just take from, but maybe even switch it up and make it into Afrofuturism or speculative fiction or something like that. Make it like that's what I want to do. I want to take moments or pieces of our history and maybe fictionalize it and maybe throw a different setting on it, different time period on it, and just have black folks in it doing cool stuff.
So Unveiling Visions, the Alchemy of the Black Imagination, is a collaboration on a number of levels. The curators, John Jennings and Ronaldo Anderson, are artists and academics who really brought this rich content to the Schomburg. And there's 87 artists in the show, along with a number of items from the Schomburg's collections. And together, concept, the Schomburg's mission, came together to make magic in this moment. So we were really interested in exploring the idea of black futures at a time where that's on a lot of people's minds. So politically, socially, as we think about our current black movement for liberation, thinking about the future, thinking about imagination and creativity is a critical part of that conversation. So at the Schomburg, we were really interested in adding that element to a lot of the political activity that we see today. The response to the show has been overwhelmingly positive. Everyone from young people who come and see images and colors that are reflected in their everyday life and the media that they engage with, to older folks who are seeing figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and W.B. Du Bois being recontextualized as Afrofuturists has been really exciting. So the response has been really positive. People are in the gallery every day engaging with the work, engaging with the text, and coming away with new ideas. When you walk into the gallery, it's unlike anything we've ever done at the Schomburg before. It's like you're stepping into a mashup of a number of your favorite comic books all thrown together on the walls. So we have both the narratives of the individual works at play, but also the new unique narratives that's created when all of these objects and images are together in one space. So we have a mix of work that has never been shown outside of a digital space. So art that is primarily living online, living virtually, is now taken to print. We have original film posters from the Schomburg's collections that's bringing new life to films and new contextualization to films that we might not have previously thought as being Afrofuturist or related to sci-fi or to horror or any of the number of genres that are being exhibited. There are also a number of books in the exhibition. So the show is divided up into 5 thematic sections, and as you walk through, you really come away with a bibliography of scholarship and creative writing that has informed a lot of the art in the show, and that also is informing this discourse of Afrofuturism.
And what brought you here today?
Well, I love Black art. I love art in general. And so I just wanted to come in and see what it was all about.
Okay, so have you ever looked at any science fiction fantasy? You read that, you look at that type of art, or is this your first experience with it?
First experience with science fiction art, but all of it is art. So I just want to see, and it brings a lot to face with all the unrest that's going around in the world. So it's interesting to see science fiction mixed in with the unrest that's happening in the world. And also just some realistic things like, the Star Wars or Eve's Bayou. I love those movies. So.
Okay. Is there any piece here that particularly speaks out to you in the exhibit?
That particular one there, where I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so I'm really close to Ferguson.
Okay.
So the hands up, don't shoot, all of this with the undocumented persons, all of this is going on together. That speaks a lot to me because it involves everyone, every culture, not just African Americans.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Lucy Godwin. I'm an artist from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm very honored to be here visiting. I have chosen this one as my favorite, and because I'm a very old woman, I remember when black was beautiful, and in the 1970s, I wanted to look exactly like this. So I think this is beautifully done. She's got a very wistful look in her eyes. It's just gorgeous, but the whole atmosphere here, it invokes to me sort of like, even though it's futuristic, it's like the majesty of African royalty. Some of them just, I don't know what it is. That's what it speaks to me of. I'm not a sci-fi fan. I don't really know that much about sci-fi, but that's what I get from it. I get a sense of black majesty.
Oh yeah, Stephen, this particular piece I think is very important because it talks about the importance of Black Lives Matter being intersected with this. This is by the Latino artist and cartoonist Lalo Alcaraz.
Okay.
And so when I saw this online, this is something else what I loved about it, is the fact that when we were curating the show, so much of this was happening like in the moment. And so this was of course about the McKinney, Texas incident where this young woman is pretty much brutalized by police in Texas, right? And so he was obviously kind of making fun of the fact that this, basically like the kind of signifying on that fact that she's obviously not dangerous.
Portrayed her more than what she was.
Exactly, and then he's borrowing from like an old school science fiction movie, Attack of, I think it was a 50-foot woman. 50-foot woman, exactly. So, that's what we actually made into this mock poster. And, I think it really worked, and it was one of the more popular pieces too.
Right, they always seem to be
made into like more than what we are, either monstrosities or
the grotesque, or,
Yeah.
or othered in a particular way. So I thought that,
bionic.
Yeah, bionic. Exactly. Yeah, but I thought this was a really amazing piece, and I'm so glad we could have it in the show.
John, N, these are classics. Can you talk about these in the exhibit?
Oh yeah, definitely. These particular pieces are from as you're saying, a classic series of illustrations for the Pattern Master series by Octavia Butler. They're by this amazing fantasy illustrator named John Jude Palancar. The originals are actually done in acrylic on panel. And so when we were thinking about the show, you know, one of the first pieces that I wanted to get was some of these images from his work. And so talking to him has been really amazing, and he was very generous to let us use these images from his collection.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for being on Black Sci-Fi TV today and showing us this exhibit, man. It's always good to see you and Steven.
Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.